Hey, what's up? In this video, we're gonna learn how to use a lightsaber. My goal by the end of this video is to take somebody who has never picked up a lightsaber before, but wants to learn how to spin it, and give them a good intro into lightsaber spinning. I know it can be super intimidating seeing people online doing all of these fancy tricks, all these cool spins and moves, and you have no clue how to start, and you've tried to follow a couple tutorials. But for somebody who's never picked up a lightsaber before, maybe there are some tricks that you could learn, or some tricks that I can teach you to help you learn those tutorials. Just some basic habits and exercises that you can practice yourself, even with just like a wooden stick or something to practice, to get your mind and your body in kind of the flow before you start spinning. The way this video is going to be broken down is we're going to do a quick intro, some stretches to get you into the flow of things, and then we're going to do some basic exercises to get your mind and body kind of ready for spinning a lightsaber, kind of teaching yourself these good habits. Then we'll move into some basic twirls, some basic spins, and then by the end we'll do some basic attacks, and then we'll move them all into some combos. Again, my goal by the end of this video is to take somebody who's never even touched a lightsaber, or has but doesn't quite know how to spin it the way they want to, and get you comfortable enough to start learning more spins, and basically have this be lightsaber 101. Everything that you might need to know before you start spinning, and then we'll actually get you into spinning. So, let's learn. Okay, first things first, whenever you're practicing with the lightsaber, especially if you're somebody who's just getting into lightsaber spinning, make sure you have an open space. Make sure you have room that you can spin that lightsaber any which way you please, and you won't hit a single thing, because the last thing you want to be doing is be spinning and hit something. So make sure you're in a space where you can do all sorts of spins, tricks, flips, and not hit someone. A good way to test out if your space is good, extend your lightsaber as far as it can possibly go, spin, and then do it this way. Ow, that was professional. If you're not hitting anything, odds are you're in a pretty good place. You definitely want to make sure you have all the room you need so that you're not confined, that you're not chicken tucking your elbows in, that you're not forcing yourself into a little box to try to spin in. You want to make sure you have all the room in the world that you possibly can have so that you can hit any possible spin that you need to learn. And remember, this is just the basics, so you might not even need to have all this room, but it's good to at least give yourself the room. Alright, so I know lightsaber spinning can be really intimidating. You see these guys doing all these fancy little spins, fancy tricks, these twirls in the air, and you have no clue how they pull these moves off. You just want to learn, but you don't know where to start. I got you. It's really intimidating when you're looking at it overall as this huge thing with all these different moves to try to master every single move. When you're trying to master every single combo, it's really intimidating when you look at it that way. So what we're going to do today is we're going to break down some basic moves to get you into the flow. We're going to break down some basic movements, basic motion controls to get you kind of in the flow of spinning so you get the feel of it. And then maybe we'll move into some basic twirls that you can learn, and then I'll teach you a combo. Because essentially, when you're spinning a lightsaber, a lot of people, what I personally choose to do is I choose to freestyle spin my lightsaber. Whenever I'm spinning, I never really plan which move I'm going to do. I just do the moves that feel the most comfortable. And it's helpful to know more moves. The only way you're able to know those moves is by learning them individually and then putting them together. If you've ever played Mortal Kombat, it's kind of like that. You learn the moves individually, and then you can put them all together into a whole combo. But before we do that, let's start with some basics. First things first is what you're wearing. If you'll notice, I'm in very loose clothing right now. I got a very loose shirt, I got sweats on, I got gym shoes, and I have gloves on. In a lot of my videos, you might notice that I'm dressed in different things. Sometimes I'll be wearing jeans, sometimes I won't have a shirt, sometimes I will, sometimes I'll be a hoodie, longer shirt, shorter shirt. The only reason I'm able to wear that type of stuff when I'm spinning is because I know how to spin, and I'm simply just making a video. I'm not learning how to spin in those videos. That being said, in the videos that I am wearing jeans, it is very difficult to spin and very uncomfortable. Especially if I'm trying to do a move like this and I have jeans, I've pulled my inner thigh so many times. So when you're out practicing, trying to get the hang of it, make sure you're in either loose clothing so you have a lot of movement, or you're in compression clothing so it's not restricting you. Tip number 2 is hand wear. Gloves, kind of important. In almost all of my videos, I'm wearing gloves. That's because when I'm spinning a lightsaber, I'm spinning it disrespectfully fast. There's no reason why the spins I'm doing have to be that aggressive or have to be that fast. Sometimes I do like to slow them down a little bit to add a little bit more flair into the moves, but every now and then I will like to speed things up a little bit, and it's very nice to have a gripped glove for that. I'll leave some links in the description about the 2 types of gloves that I wear that I switch between, but you want to keep them kind of lightweight and make sure they have leather grips on the inside. Nothing too fancy though. All right, you got your apparel on, you got your gloves, you're ready to spin, you got your lightsaber, now you're here Now what do? Before we touch our lightsaber, y'all knew I was gonna do this. We're doing stretches again. If you were here for my Spider-Man video, you know stretches are important. And you might be thinking, we're not doing Spider-Man poses. Why do we need to do stretches? Well, you're spinning a lightsaber, and when you start spinning a lightsaber really fast, you should probably stretch out whatever muscle group you're using. Don't worry, these stretches are not as intense. They're very easy. All right, we're gonna work together. Feet apart like this. Hands out. Do some arm circles. 1, 2. Nice arm circles with palms down. Reverse them. What this is gonna do is this is gonna loosen your shoulders up a little bit. Palms up. Do the same thing. This is going to loosen up the biceps, the shoulders, back like that. All right, hit him with this one. We did this for Spidey. Loosen up that abdomen. You should feel it in your upper back. Do some wrist circles like that. Make a fist. It's going to loosen your wrist up. Very, very important because the wrist is a very crucial part of lightsaber spinning. Hit him with a prayer hand. Go down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go down. 1, 2, 3. Swap the prayer hand out like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then if you want, you can stretch out upper arm like that. Do a crossbody. You want to be loose about it. You want to be loose and fresh. You want to make sure you're good with it. All right, well, let's learn some basic stuff. First, we're just going to get comfortable with our saber. So hold the saber in both your hands. Start tossing it back and forth like this. Get comfortable with it, you know. Pretty much everybody is going to spin the saber primarily on one side of their body, with whatever dominant hand they have. My dominant hand is right. This is my right hand. The camera probably has it flipped, but this is my right hand. This is my left hand. My dominant hand is my right hand. So if I'm spinning, most spins are going to be done with my right hand. Now, after enough practice, you'll probably get to the point where you can kind of start switching hands between your flow and moving around different spins, no matter which hand you move with. Because even if you're right-handed, you can still use your left hand in your flows, but as secondary spins. We'll learn how to do secondary spins later down the line, not in this video. This is a beginner video. We want to make sure we're comfortable using the saber with both hands, because the last thing you want to do is get to a spin where you're stuck and you have to swap hands, but you don't know how. So at this point, you just want to make sure you're comfortable having the saber in both hands. Feel the saber, get a good feel for it, feel the weight of the saber, feel how it spins, how it twirls. Maybe do a couple spins if you know them. Some good exercises to do is what I'm doing right now. Toss it back and forth, but don't even look at the saber. You might have to look at first to follow it, toss it back and forth, get the hang of it, but then you can kind of start looking around while you're tossing it to kind of get the flow of it. Maybe switch up your throws a little bit, just like that. And you might be wondering, why on earth am I, nice. Why on earth am I having you throw a saber around? It's for a couple reasons. Number one, obviously, it's for hand-eye coordination. You want to make sure your hand-eye is pretty good when you're spinning a lightsaber. Because if you're ever throwing a saber or you're twirling it into a different hand, you want to make sure you can follow up with that hand. The second reason is something not a lot of people talk about whatsoever, and it's weight distribution. A lightsaber is not evenly weighted. The hilt is metal. This is a plastic pipe. The metal hilt will always be heavier. So if I throw a saber like this, it's spinning around the hilt. Like this, the hilt's gonna drop. Throw it like this, the hilt's gonna drop. A lightsaber is not evenly weighted, so you have to take that into account when you're throwing, but also when you're spinning, because if you're spinning something, this is your range of motion. Everything's going around that range of motion. So the reason that we're doing this is to get your body and your mind kind of in this state of following the hilt on where it goes, and kind of figuring out how to follow up that move. Then when you get comfortable with these, what you're gonna do is you're gonna swap the pass out to a reverse pass. So instead of catching it like this with the blade up, you're just gonna switch to catching it like that. Boom, like that. Boom, toss back. Boom, toss back. And you can swap it out, do it the other hand. Boom, toss back, toss back. And when you do that, you'll notice your shoulder and your bicep will cave down. And the reason for that, again, is weight distribution. It's following where the weight is going. Your body is reacting to how the saber is spinning. We got that normal pass down. We got that reverse pass down. And what you'll start to feel is the momentum. If you do this reverse pass enough, you'll feel that you don't want to stop right here. You want to keep going. So if you feel comfortable with that, do that. Hit them with some forward passes, and then all of a sudden, boom, look at that. Do a reverse pass, follow that flow through like that. And then you'll feel that the momentum keeps going, and you can do it another toss. Remember how we were practicing these tosses? Just do that a second time. So 1, 2, 3, toss it up like that. Ready? 1, 2, 3, toss it up. Simple as that, right? Again, this isn't like a practical spin. It's teaching you weight distribution and hand-eye coordination. Now, you might be wondering, how on earth is this actually helping me? Well, you remember how we just did this? How is that gonna help? Well, if you learn it and you throw it into a flow, kind of like that, See? Once you learn those basic moves, you can throw it into a flow. It's all about teaching yourself these muscle memory movements. All right, we got that down. We got weight distribution. We know how that's gonna work. Let's try some basic movements, right? So what I want you to do, step back, and I want you to walk with your saber and treat your saber as part of your body. Obviously, when you're walking, you don't wanna be like that, kicking your saber. You don't wanna be doing that. You wanna be walking just with your saber casually, and it's not gonna stay in the same spot. It's going to move with your body. You gotta learn how to have it move with your body. Keep it moving, right? Keep it moving, just like that. Then swap hands, do that. Swap hands, walk it out. Something like that. Now add in that basic toss. When you're moving, toss it through. I'm gonna move this way, I'm gonna toss it through. Toss it through. Now again, you might be wondering, why am I having you do something that's stupid? I'm having you walk with the lightsaber. I thought we were gonna learn how to spin a lightsaber. We are, but again, like I said, this is for people who've never picked a lightsaber up. The reason I'm teaching you this is because even though it might be common knowledge, we have two sides of our body, our right side and our left side. Our lightsaber has to behave on both sides of our body. We have to learn how to behave that lightsaber on both sides of our body without having it come between and hit us. What we're essentially doing is building into our brain the muscle memory, and we're essentially telling our brain and our muscles to respond that, hey, this is a new part of our body. When we spin it, don't hit yourself. Behave your lightsaber on two different sides of your body. Don't hit yourself. That's what you're trying to condition your brain to believe. Even with this, you're tossing it between two sides. Now you can drop it low, toss it around, but it's always staying on those two sides. Now, eventually when we start getting into advanced spins, you'll have four sides. You'll have this side, this side, this side, and that side. You'll have four sides of your body that you can move, and then of course you'll have like the upper side too, or you'll have the lower side if you want to throw a move in like that. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Focus on the two sides, the two planes. And if you want to start getting fancy with it, if you start getting confident, start flowing your saber around a little bit, but as you're walking, so that you can time it between your steps so that you're not hitting. Notice how my blade is moving with my steps, so I'm never actually hitting my legs, I'm never actually hitting my knees. When I'm spinning the blade a different way. I'm moving around, all that fun jazz. But you want to teach yourself and get that muscle memory into your brain, not to hit your body. There's a car coming, f that guy. There's literally a car that just pulled up over there, but he swerved and almost hit a tree. So I'm trying to make sure he's not like drunk or something. Cause like he didn't even hit the parking spot normal. He did some shit like this. He was like that with his car. And he's parked like across the parking lots. If this is a parking spot, he's parked this way, so I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I don't care that much. Alright, now here comes the fun stuff. We've done our basic movements, we know kind of how our saber works, how our saber is going to behave around our body. We know that basic stuff. Now let's learn some basic spins. Let's get you in the flow of doing a twirl. If you've never picked up a lightsaber before and you followed along until now, my goal is to get you to learn all of these by the end of the video. If not, watch the video a second time, or I just gotta learn how to teach better. Anyway, first move we're gonna learn is the single most essential lightsaber move of all time. If anyone tells you differently, they're lying. The most essential move for a lightsaber is this. That. Yeah, I know, it's really impressive, right? Just that. I know people are gonna try to argue and say, oh no, the figure eight is more important, or the Annie-Obi is way more iconic. And they're right to a certain extent. The Annie-Obi is much more iconic. People do the Annie-Obi challenge all the time. The figure eight leads you into every single other move, right? My personal favorite is the Anakin Skywalker backspin into an overhead. But what I said was the single most important move to learn is this one, the single twirl. Because every single one of those moves utilizes the single twirl to some extent. If I'm doing the figure eight, check this out. What am I doing with my hand here? Here, I'll stop it. Ready? It's a single twirl. If I'm doing an Annie-Obi, what am I doing with my hand here? Wait, hold on, wait, I'll stop it. Oh, look at that, a single twirl. If I'm doing an Anakin Skywalker backspin, what am I doing with my hand right there? A single twirl. Even something like an overhead, what am I doing? A single twirl. The reason I kind of sound like a dick about this is because I'm always seeing people say how you don't need to learn this move, or you can skip this move, or just learn all the fancy spins and stuff. And I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to hurt yourself trying to do an advanced move without learning the essentials to get to that move. And if any move is essential to master, it's this one. So let's learn how to do it. What we're gonna do is start with our saber in either hand. Probably start with your dominant hand before you go to your non-dominant and learn it there. Hold it on your dominant side of your body. The way you can test if it's far enough out is by doing this. Hold the blade down, back up. If you don't hit your leg at all, you're in the right spot. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with all 5 of our hands on the blade. We are going to drop 3 of the fingers, those bottom 3 fingers. We are going to drop those bottom 3 fingers and only hold the blade like this. We're only holding the blade like that. We are dropping our 3 fingers like this and only holding it like that. Our first step is going to get the blade 90 degrees forward. And to do that, we're simply just going to drop it like that. Like that. You're going to drop it like you're pointing like Voldemort. Like that. So 1, 2, 3. Like that. When you do that, you're going to feel the blade want to keep going. So when it keeps going, you're going to let it. A good way to kind of get your hand in the motion of this is to drop the blade and then push it up like this and see how your other hand responds. So 1, 2, boom. You can see that your hand already wants to go across. Your hand naturally wants to continue that flow. It's unnatural to stop that flow. You want to keep that flow going. So when you do this, you're essentially just doing a wrist circle like this, but with the blade in your hand. There was a bug in my helmet. The reason you drop those 3 fingers is to allow your blade to have full range of motion. Because if I kept those 3 fingers on and tried to wrist circle, I'm not going very far. See how uncomfortable my arm is? See how far I have to get it out? But if I just drop those 3, nice and easy. Again, drop the 3, point it down, flick it, and finish that rotation. Flick it, finish the rotation. Once you get that down, you can do it with your other hand too. Learn it the same exact way. Learn it the same way of just 3 fingers down, push it, feel how it wants to spin, like that. Got it, right? So you got that basic twirl down. You know how to do it. If you don't, practice it until you get it. Until you can do it simultaneously, keep spinning that blade. Keep doing it until you can keep doing it. You know what I mean? If you want another breakdown on that, I do have a shorter express video that I'll leave a link to, or like, I think there's a thing right there, or maybe on that side. I don't know, but I'll leave a link to it where it breaks down a little farther, but that's essentially the gist of it. I'm losing sun cover over here too. I picked the worst time to do this. So the second move we're going to learn is the figure 8. It's essentially just a basic twirl and a basic twirl on both sides. 1, 2. Practice that. 1, 2. Stand straight. 1, 2. And now keep your body centered. 1, 2. And you can kind of feel how you want to spin the blade in the same direction, right? 1, 2. 1, 2. Now instead of doing this, just keep crossing over. So 1, 2, 1, 2. And now you're just going to combine it with this waving motion. So do like 1, 2, 1, 2. And when you do that, add the flick in. 1, 2, 1, 2. Like that. Now you have a figure 8. Do you remember when I said earlier we were practicing this, keeping the blade on both sides of your body and not hitting yourself? I told you it was important because this is where it's going to be important, is right here. You're keeping your blade on both sides of your body and you're not hitting your body. Again, practice the move slow until you kind of get it. Just like the basic flick move, I have a separate tutorial video on the figure 8. You're more than welcome to check that out. The third move we're going to learn is an overhead move. Overhead move is literally just a basic flick, but right here. So practice that basic flick till you got it down. We're using our dominant hand. And then what you're just going to do is hold the blade up and flick it like that. And we're essentially going to move into that spin. So we're going to go like an arc, arc, and when we get to the top, flick, right? Arc, flick. And what's fun about this one is you can reverse it. Arc, flick, boom, flick, arc, boom. That actually goes for every move, and you should learn how to do the reverse of every one of these moves. So the basic flick, like that, you should also learn how to do it in reverse. And how to do that is very simple. Just practice it in forwards, and then just reverse the move and watch how the blade spins. Again, it's just a wrist circle. It's an alternate wrist circle with your blade going across. The figure 8 is a little bit more tricky to do in reverse because it's not very practical and doesn't lead into many moves. I mean, you could lead it into a move, but a lot of times your momentum is just going to go off better from a basic figure 8. So the other figure 8 is not as useful, but you can still utilize it. All right, if you've made it this far, you kind of know how to spin a lightsaber, right? You know your figure 8, you know your basic twirls, you know them in reverse, you can do them over your head, you can do all that. You can throw the blade around, you can do whatever you want. But it's not all about spinning and flashy tricks. Sometimes in your flow, you might want to throw in a strike or a combo, right? You might want to throw in some sort of actual attack to make it add some variety. So let's learn some basic attacks. Let's learn some basic strikes that you can do that work really well with the spins we just learned. First one is just going to be your basic strike. So you're going to have it in your dominant hand, put your non-dominant hand below. You're going to start on the upper side of your dominant shoulder. So my right shoulder's here, I'm going to start up there. Like this, you're going to step forward, strike down. Step forward, strike down. You're striking down to where your foot isn't. So I'll do it over here. strike down. From that, we can learn our second move, which is where we step forward with our left foot and strike up. So you can throw them together. Strike down, up. Or you could just do the strike up, like that. So our strike up is very simple. It's like you're swinging a baseball bat, like that, to hit a home run, but you're starting down here, and you're going up, and you're not swinging. It's like a block move. So it's like, boom. And you can go from there, boom, into the strike down. So we know strike up, strike down, strike up, strike down. You can do them stationary too. Strike up, strike down. So let's talk about practicality. How do we put this in a flow? Well, if I'm spinning like this and I'm having a fun time and I want to throw in a basic strike up pose, right? I know I have to get my blade up here. So how do I do that? Well, my figure eight, boom, blade is right there. In my Annie-Obi, boom, blade is right there. Or in a basic flick, boom, the blade is right there. So if I'm doing a combo, let's say basic flick, basic flick, basic flick, basic flick, strike. Or if I'm doing a figure eight, strike. Or an Annie-Obi, upward, downward strike. Again, this is all building up your move list so you can add in different strikes into your combos. Let's learn one more basic strike. This one's fun. I don't know if it has a name, but I call it the tic-tac. The tic-tac is like this. And I call it the tic-tac because it's tick-tac. And what you're doing is very simple. You're just doing this, but up here. So if you hold your blade up and you go boom, 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 boom. You want to feel that movement, and then instead of just flicking your wrist, move in a full strike, like that. Hold that blade up, boom, boom. And what's fun about this one is the momentum. It's boom, boom, and you have a lot of momentum after that spin. So you can easily throw in a figure eight move, and then boom, boom, strike. Let's go over everything we've learned from start to finish. We picked up our lightsaber. That was step one. Actually, no, we stretched. We picked up a lightsaber. We learned some tosses, right? We learned not to let the blade touch our body when we're moving. We also learned a basic flick. We learned how to do it in reverse. We learned our figure eight. We learned an overhead and the reverse overhead. We learned some basic strikes that you can throw into your flows. Now, most importantly, let's talk about cohesion. That's a fancy word. How do we add all of those together to make a flow? Because when you're spinning, you might be confused. You might be spinning like this, and you're like, okay, what move do I do next? What do I do next? I don't know what to do next. The way I like to think of cohesion is I have 4 points on my body. 1, 2, 3, 4. Every single point on my body gives me an intro and an outro into a move. So if I'm here, I can do an overhead. Or if I'm here, I can do a downward strike. Or if I'm here, I can do an Annie-Obi. Or I can do a figure eight. Or I can do an upward strike. Or if I'm here, I can do a tic-tac. You have 4 points in your body, and all of them lead into different moves. Now, you don't have to memorize which one leads to what, because your body will tell you. If you're here, you're probably not going to try to do a tic-tac, because it wouldn't make much sense, you know? Boom, tic-tac. You're not there. You'd have to get up here. So, boom, swipe, tic-tac. Your body will tell you what feels more comfortable to spin, but if you focus on those 4 points and you realize, okay, I'm here, what can I do from here? And a good way to do this is to just go out and spin, practice your spins, and do a fun move. So do maybe a figure eight, and then, I don't know, strike. Now you're here, pause right there, and think, where can I go from here? I can go up, and then down, and then back out. This is one of the more harder things to learn, is how to incorporate everything together when you learn it. And the best way to do that is to learn them all individually, like I said, so that you have an entire move list to pick from and you can eventually start building chains up. So again, this was a beginner video. This video was meant and tailored to somebody who has never picked up a lightsaber before and wants an intro into it. Now, after this video, I'm of course going to make another video with more advanced moves to teach the same people who watched this how to advance their moves farther, because that's obviously important. You want to know how to advance the moves farther. And that only accounts to when we have one blade. We can do a lot of stuff with one blade in advanced moves, but eventually, if we like these types of videos, we can start adding in a second blade, and we can see what we can do with 2 blades that makes it more different than having one blade. But of course, that would be a whole video of intro to double blade. And then if we get real fun, we'll connect them together. We'll do an intro to a double blade. As I said, I have tutorials on all of those other moves, as well as the tutorial on those 4 basic lightsaber moves we just learned. that I posted like a year ago. You're more than welcome to check all of those out. Links are all in the description. Practice these down pat until you can do them like they're nothing. Do them in your sleep, and then we'll move to the advanced moves, and we'll start having some fun with the combos and the freestyling. All that fun stuff. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. As always, you guys are the absolute best. Like I said, I wanted to move into more Star Wars content as well, so if you like these videos, please make sure to like them, check them out, share them to your friends, leave a comment, let me know. Either way, I'm still probably going to make them, but if they do poorly, that'll just be sad and I'll cry. There's a bug in my helmet. Anyway, as always, do good things, peace and love, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace!
Yeah, Spider-Man!